If you've been waiting for the moment the rest of the NFL finally admits the Kansas City Empire is wobbling, that moment has arrived. Not one, but two separate reports just dropped within days of training camp, and both of them are pointing in the same explosive direction. The throne is shakier than anyone wants to say out loud. And a new contender in the AFC West is quietly building something special while nobody was watching. Let's start with a bombshell prediction that's got football fans buzzing. A major national outlet just released win total predictions for all 32 teams, and the number attached to Kansas City is nothing short of stunning, under 10.5 wins. Read that again. A team that's been synonymous with championship football for years suddenly being projected to miss double-digit wins entirely. The reasoning behind it reads like a eulogy dressed up as analysis. This once unstoppable offense hasn't cracked the top half of the league in scoring since 2022, and it has quietly gotten worse every single season since. Their franchise quarterback just wrapped up his 3 worst statistical seasons in a row, and the defense, the very thing that used to bail this team out when the offense sputtered, projected to get worse, not better. The article doesn't pull punches, essentially declaring that this franchise is a team clinging to the last fumes of a dynasty, riding on reputation and mystique alone. With a frighteningly uncertain ceiling and an even scarier low floor heading into the season. And here's the thing. This isn't some hater with an axe to grind. This is the football world finally saying the quiet part out loud. Because if you actually look at the last 2 seasons with clear eyes, the cracks have been there the whole time. Remember that one year everyone praised as a triumphant title run? It was actually a roller coaster of nail-biting, could have gone either way finishes. Then last season, everything fell apart even further. A rough year offensively and defensively, and that's while the franchise quarterback was still healthy for most of it. Then, in the cruelest twist of the season, disaster struck late in the year against a divisional rival, a torn ankle, ending his season and casting a massive shadow of uncertainty over the entire upcoming year. Here's the part people conveniently keep glossing over. Everyone assumes a superstar quarterback just bounces back from a torn ankle like it's a stubbed toe. But players who've actually lived through that exact injury have come forward and said the truth is far less glamorous. Full recovery realistically takes about 1.5 years, not a few months. That means, mathematically, this franchise quarterback might genuinely not be back to 100% for this entire upcoming season. Not just physically either, confidence takes a hit too. Players coming off major injuries tend to play tentatively, afraid of re-injury, second-guessing every cut and every hit. And if the quarterback isn't fully himself, everything else about that offense becomes even shakier. And oh, the offense. Let's talk about it because it is not pretty. The star tight end who used to be the most unstoppable weapon in football is now in the twilight of his career, still effective in flashes, but no longer the game-breaking menace he once was. The high-profile wide receivers this team has invested in, multiple ones have shown essentially nothing of note. And the running game hasn't been much better, forcing this front office to bring in a new running back who, let's be honest, is wildly inconsistent. The kind of player who looks like a superstar one month and completely invisible the next. Sure, in a small playoff sample last year with another team, he looked like a Super Bowl MVP caliber weapon when the starter got hurt. But that flash of brilliance isn't who he actually is on a week-to-week basis. This isn't a workhorse superstar walking through the door. This is a boom or bust gamble at best. So there it is, laid bare in black and white. An aging defense trending in the wrong direction, an offense that can't find its footing, receivers who haven't proven anything, and a franchise quarterback whose health timeline is a giant glowing question mark. The league is starting to see it. And once the rest of the NFL stops being scared of the mystique and the highlight reels of the past, the results on paper start speaking for themselves. Now, let's pivot to the other side of this story. Because while one AFC West team is watching its empire wobble, another one is quietly, steadily building something that has people paying very real attention. That's right. We're talking about the scrappy, physical, defensively stacked squad that keeps getting overlooked no matter how much they prove on the field. A completely separate article, this time actually coming from within the crumbling Empire's own coverage team, previewed the divisional competition, and buried in that preview is a genuinely eyebrow-raising compliment. Despite trying to find any crack in the armor, all they could really point to was health, specifically the offensive line staying on the field. But here's the twist. That's the same question you could ask about literally any position on any roster in the league. It's not a real weakness, it's just the only card left to play. Because when you actually look at the personnel up front, it's borderline embarrassing how good it is. A dominant left tackle, a mauling interior presence, a versatile veteran guard, and a stud right tackle. Put it all together, and you're talking about a group that could realistically be argued as one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. The fact that a rival franchise's own writers are begrudgingly admitting this speaks volumes. And it's not just the offensive line. The tight end room, which was practically non-existent last season, has been completely transformed. Multiple new additions have been brought in, including one player who was buried on the depth chart at his previous stop simply because of how much talent was ahead of him there, meaning this new team might be getting a legitimate breakout weapon that barely anyone got to see before. Combine that with a defense that is ranked in the top 10 of the entire league for 2 consecutive years. Largely unchanged and battle-tested, and it becomes very clear why insiders are suddenly buzzing about this team. And let's not forget, this team accomplished all of this success last season without its top offensive line, without a healthy running back, and without a real tight end room. They still fought their way into the playoffs. Now virtually the entire core is back, healthier, deeper, and hungrier. It genuinely raises the question, if a top 10 defense, a suddenly dominant offensive line, and a much-improved receiving core all come together at the same time, how far could this team actually go? Of course, no divisional preview is complete without addressing the rest of the pack. One rebuilding franchise, despite making a lot of the right long-term decisions and doing right by their roster construction, is still very clearly a year away from real contention. Because no matter how promising a rookie quarterback looks, asking a first- or second-year passer to carry a team deep into January in a division this brutal is an enormous ask. They're doing things the right way, but patience is still required. And then there's the other quarterback health wildcard of the division, a rising young signal caller who suffered a serious ankle injury in the AFC Championship game just months ago. Think about that timeline for a second. That injury happened in January, meaning as camp opens. We're talking about a recovery window of roughly 6 months. So here we are with not one, but 2 of the marquee quarterbacks in this division walking into the season on the heels of major injuries suffered late last year. Are they both going to be ready? Conventional wisdom says probably, but caution is absolutely warranted given how recent both injuries were. Still, there's a growing sense that this particular quarterback proved himself for real last season, making winning, high-level plays consistently enough that doubting his ability at this point feels less like healthy skepticism and more like stubbornness. Adding a genuine difference making wide receiver to his arsenal certainly won't hurt matters either. So here's where the division stands as training camp opens, one franchise clinging to reputation while the warning signs pile up around them. One team a year away from being dangerous. One team with a quarterback health situation worth monitoring closely, but real belief building behind him. And one team, the scrappy, defensively stout, suddenly loaded up-front squad, quietly becoming the team that everybody else in the division is starting to nervously glance over their shoulder at. This is exactly the position you want to be in. Not the flashy preseason media darling drowning in hype and pressure, but the team that keeps getting slept on right up until the moment they're kicking down the door in January. The pieces are falling into place. The rest of the league is starting to take notice. And if health cooperates even a little bit, this division race could look very different from what everyone assumed just a year ago. So here's the big question for you. Is this finally the year the balance of power in the AFC West officially shifts? Is the so-called dynasty finally running out of magic, or does experience and mystique still count for something when January rolls around? Sound off in the comments and let us know exactly where you stand, because this debate is only going to get louder as the season approaches. And if you enjoyed breaking down all this division drama with us, do not scroll away without hitting that subscribe button and smashing the like button on this video. Training camp is just days away, which means the real storylines are about to start writing themselves, and you do not want to miss a single update. Turn on notifications, drop your predictions below, and we will see you right back here for the next one.